Now, y'all know if y'all been hanging with us early in the show, we talked about Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott. Was there a better chance that he would elevate his receivers or that the receivers would bring him down? Intro the segment, Better Chance, where I talk about two options and we got to decide what has a better chance of happening. Well, quarterback drama in Carolina brought Baker Mayfield into Carolina, even though Sam Darnold was already there. So now begs the question, which one of these two former first-round picks is going to start? Joy, is there a better chance that Baker Mayfield wins the starting job or Sam Darnold?
Baker Mayfield's going to win this job. He's a better quarterback than Sam Darnold when he's healthy, of course, which we are anticipating he will be. But also you have to consider that owner in Carolina is getting impatient, and rightfully so. He wants to see some winning. He wants to see some action. We know what Sam Darnold is at this point in his career. And Matt Rule's got to do that. He's got to do some winning this year. He might have that long contract, but he's on the hot seat. So I think they go with Baker Mayfield, and I think he will actually win the job as well.
Oh, my gosh, you guys, man. You guys just so ready to give it to Baker Mayfield. Sam Darnold's going to win the job. Sam Darnold's on the inside track. He's had more opportunity. He has a relationship with the players on the team. They love him. He is going to be the guy that runs out the tunnel when they start week 1 against the Browns. It's Sam Darnold.
Well, let's fly on over to Washington and talk about one of my favorite quarterbacks, Carson Wentz, in his third team in 3 seasons. Now, that's not good, but Carson Wentz is, at least he is, in my opinion. I get it. He's had some accuracy problems, but who hasn't? It's training camp. Bucky Brooks, I'm afraid to ask you. I genuinely am. I'm not entirely sure I want to hear your answer, but they pay me to do a job. Is there a better chance that Carson Wentz finishes the season as the starter or gets benched?
Come on, man. When you ask these questions, you already know the answer. He is going to end up on the bench. He's going to end up on the bench, not necessarily because of his performance and his talent, but just because of the lack of leadership. I think at some point the Commanders are going to look around the huddle. They're going to wonder, man, I understand why this dude moved on from Philly. He moved on from Indy. He is not going to get us over the top. I think Taylor Heineke will be the quarterback that starts for the Commanders near the end of the season.
I agree, Bucky. I've never been a huge Carson Wentz guy. It's always, it's Carson Wentz, so much bigger ceiling than Dak Prescott. Where are we now? What did you just mention, Emmanuel? He's on his third team in 3 seasons. Look, he has talents, but the leadership, the recklessness, after a while, the market tells you what you are. He is where he is for a reason, and I anticipate he will be on the bench at some point this season.
Carson, disregard the market. I will tell you who you are, and you are still my hero. All right, we got to move to L.A., well, the city we in. Quarterback Justin Herbert, God, dog, he gets so much hype. But with all that hype, he ain't got no playoff appearances in his first 2 years. So now I'm a little bit confused. Is Justin Herbert as good as everybody makes him out to be or not? So, Joy, let's talk. Better chance that Justin Herbert makes the Super Bowl or misses the playoffs?
Does Justin Herbert still play for the Chargers? Yeah, there's a better chance he misses the playoffs then. It's not about Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has unbelievable talent. He's an amazing quarterback. He's on a skyrocket flight to the Hall of Fame. We all know that, right? Everyone has anointed this situation. I'm not being sarcastic. I love Justin Herbert, and I love the pieces and the moves that they made. But I got to see them actually take a step into the playoffs before we start talking about going to the Super Bowl. Now, it's not impossible. We saw Joe Burrow do it with Cincinnati Bengals, who are a traditionally dysfunctional organization, taking them to the Super Bowl. But you also have to consider this division, which they got to get out of first, and it is an impossible division, one of the craziest we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. So if you're giving me a choice, I'm going to say they're going to miss the playoffs.
Oh, no. The L.A. Chargers are getting ready to go to the Super Bowl behind this superstar quarterback they have in Justin Herbert. We can talk about the division and all those other quarterbacks, but by the end of this year, we might be talking about Justin Herbert being the best quarterback in this division. He's the real deal. They got playmakers galore. They're fixing the defense. This is the year that the Chargers are going to run. We're going to talk about this Justin Herbert guy being really special at the end of the season.
Oh, God. Well, we will see. I did draw 2 vastly different parallels. I think Justin Herbert will make the playoffs, but Super Bowl, don't think so. All right, we got to head to the NBA. A report says, and it came out right before the show, that KD had a face-to-face meeting with Nets owner Joe Tsai. This was over the weekend. KD reiterated he wants to be traded. He got to be traded, and he's not taking no for an answer unless the Nets were to get rid of general manager Sean Marks and head coach Steve Nash. So here's what it comes down to, simply put. Kevin Durant said it's me or it's the GM and the head coach. You pick. Joy, let's talk real quick about KD. Is there a better chance that KD remains in Brooklyn or gets traded?
So this is a very nuanced situation. There's a lot to consider here. And as you mentioned, this story just dropped on everyone right before the show started. I'm going to lean towards he's traded, but the market is really strange surrounding Kevin Durant, and I don't know what you do if you're the Brooklyn Nets. You've kind of already put all your eggs in the KD basket. You blew everything up. You already fired a coach. Do you really hate the direction the GM is going in? You submitted to everything with Kyrie this year. That didn't work out. You got Ben Simmons. I kind of feel like you've got to submit to Kevin Durant, but that's a lot to give to a player that you just asked to leave, just asked to be traded. So at the end of the day, I do think that Kevin Durant is traded because at some point or another, Brooklyn has to establish some culture and direction. And whether that's putting their, chips behind Steve Nash and Sean Marks over Kevin Durant, that might just be a statement of we're moving towards the future and building something without you because you don't want to be here.
Joy, I am fervently confused. Not by you, not at all by you, by Kevin Durant. Y'all remember Kevin Durant got a 5-year deal from the Nets after playing in 33 games. 5 years, $200+ million after 33 games. He was coming off an Achilles. Ow. Coming off of an Achilles injury, played in 33 games, and he got $200 million. A year into that deal, KD has the audacity to give the owner, the same owner that gave him a 5-year contract coming off an Achilles, has the audacity to give that owner an ultimatum, say it's either me or the head coach. The same head coach that you, KD, recruited to some degree, at least that you signed off on. Joy, I can't make that make sense. I think that there's a better chance Kevin Durant stays in Brooklyn. I don't think Steve Nash is gone. I don't think Sean Marks is gone. I hope to the good Lord that Joe Tsai puts an anchor down and says, hey, big dog, I've paid you. I gave you the players you wanted, the coach you wanted, you in the city you wanted to be in. What else could you possibly want?
But they've mortgaged their future already with Kevin Durant. It's almost like, you're down in Vegas, so you just keep going, trying to climb your way out. They're already too far in this. So do you put your chips behind Kevin Durant again and submit to what he wants and see if you can play this out the next couple years of his prime, make it work with Ben Simmons and try and figure it out? Or do you just bail and take the L's and trade Kevin Durant and not necessarily stick with Sean Marks and Steve Nash, but just make a statement to take a step in a new direction?
Let me ask you this. At what point as an owner, in your mind, Joe Tsai as an owner, can you continue to let players dictate the way in which you run your billion-dollar organization?
Me or him? Are you asking me as an owner? Because I'm doing all this differently.
Talk to me. What are you, Joy Taylor, doing?
Well, I just think everything starts at the top. When I examine organizations and dysfunction, I don't look at the players. I don't look at the personnel people. Everything starts at the top. You set a tone from the top when it comes to sports organizations. How do you treat people? What kind of standards do you set? What expectations do you have as an organization? What kind of things do you provide as an owner to sustain success for the people that work for you? When you're constantly changing your messaging, when you're constantly changing personnel, when you're constantly shifting in whole other directions and not really sticking with any particular lane, it's confusing to the consumer, it's confusing to the media, and it can be confusing to players as well. KD might feel like, hey, I don't really know what the future is here. You had Kyrie, now you're out on him. James Harden isn't here anymore. What am I going to be able to provide to this situation? So I think the Nets just have no identity. And this might be a statement situation for the Nets and Joe Tsai to say, hey, I do want to establish an identity. I'm not just going to submit to whatever anything is asked of me. I don't necessarily know if Sean Marks and Steve Nash are the guys, but they're the guys that I've picked, and I'm not just going to keep shifting the organization at every single whim and change. But they're in it now. So if you want to provide winning, if you want to take advantage of Kevin Durant being there, then you got to keep him and you got to let go of Sean Marks and Steve Nash. I think they should trade him. He's already said he doesn't want to be there.
I hear what you're saying. I love the quote, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Joe Tsai, you got to stand up to Kevin Durant at this point in time. You've already given him 5 years, $200+ million. You've given him Kyrie Irving, or at least Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. You all are together. Ben Simmons is there. Kevin Durant, you've been given everything you wanted. If you don't want Sean Marks and Steve Nash today, who might you not want tomorrow? As I look at it, KD, you know what you signed up for. Just go ahead and ball out. At a minimum, you getting paid. So it can't be all that bad.